Investment Advisory Committee. And so
you received confirmation, or can you confirm if that has been done and you have been duly notified?
The evidence I shall Reuters, Bloomberg.
Yeah,
Yes,
because the auditors pointed out is put under the management and technical services. That should warrant an increment of close to $8 million within a year.
To the committee.
And then, Governor, this has to do with the banks. We've had many issues with unearned salaries that are paid to respect people supposed to send it back to Controller and Accountant General. Sometimes there's a bit of a delay, and sometimes they don't even want to release these monies. We've had a couple of, is it the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, move away or leave. For some reason, they continue to pay them, validate, and then pay them. And so the bank holds, the banks, these commercial banks, holds quite a number of accounts that we want them to pay back to Controller and Accountant General. And sometimes it's a bit of a challenge. And since you are the regulator, we want to ask of you to support Public Accounts Committee to make sure that monies that are paid in error to staff that have left government offices or government employment should be repatriated back to the Controller and Accountant General without problems, challenges, or issues when proof is given to the bank. So this is just by way of asking you to. And then finally, on the table, there's a table 26. With various commercial bank dealers and their schedule of earnings.
That long one.
For some of the banks, their receipts are very low, but when you look at the quantum of transfer that they do in a year, I don't know how they are able to raise those huge amounts of money to transfer. I just want you to help me here. How money compared to the receipts that come in? Is it that Bank of Ghana feeds them with those huge differences in terms of forex, and so they are able to pay, or how is it done?
So we have the interbank foreign exchange market. And therefore, if a bank, it has to be supported by relevant documentation. So the bank can do that. We regulate them, yes. When we go on site, we cross-check those documents to the heart of something we observed when we came in. When we came in last year, we decided to meet the banks, and we met all the CEOs. And we made it clear to them that we wanted them to be more actively involved in promoting exports from Ghana, especially banks coming from some of our neighboring countries. Madam Chair, I can report that each of the banks submitted something to me showing what they are doing currently and what they can do to promote Ghana's exports, and we are monitoring that. So going forward, we'll ensure that the banks are not just doing banking, but they are serving as part of our eyes out there. If, for example, a bank is from South Africa, certainly they will understand the South African market better than anyone. And that is exactly what we are nudging them to do. And so far, so good. We are happy with the submissions they've sent to us.
Yes, Mr. Governor, I want to take you to page 12 of the report. If you were to look at page 12, 1,771.96 million. And this represents an increase of about 48.59%. Clearly, what this tells us is that service and works is now the second largest forest outflow category after the energy and the non-energy forest sales. Our concern is that a 48.6% increase in 1 year is materially significant. And unlike debt service or on imports, services and work is largely discretionary. So are you able to tell this committee why that sharp increment of about 48%, and if indeed you reported this to Parliament? Thank you.
Honorable member, can you?
So on page 12, yes, I'm on payments of foreign exchange for the year ended. And yes, and my concerns are that services and works payments rose by some 48.6% in 1 year.
Again, we are happy to come back to the committee with the details. The details will explain that much better. Madam Chair, we can come back with the components of that line, and that can explain it better.
And I'm sure, I mean, yes, you provided the details for this, and so coming back.
Okay, Madam Chair, fortunately we already have the breakdowns under table 20. So with your permission, I want to again ask the desk officer to provide some clarity on that. Table 20 provides those sub-details, so we can even take it now. Now you can come in now.
Okay, so Madam Chair, so as table 20 shows, payments for services and works comprises a number of other payments, including manpower training, embassy payments, progress payments to contractors, etc. So payments and other smaller payments. Madam Chair, I think when you look at the table, you can also see that the bulk of the increase is coming from the non-surrendered payment line. And these are payments that are made from FX accounts of government. So any payments that they have FX for which they want to make the payments from those accounts is where those go from.
See, while I appreciate that Table 20 gives a certain breakdown of the services and works for the year 2024, I find them weakly defined. I mean, a lot of inefficiencies or quasi-fiscal activities. The explanation is not there. Probably maybe the auditors may want to come in. But for instance, manpower training and development, 40 million. What goes into it? Oh, yes, $40 million.
No, Madam Chair, the manpower training and development even declined. If I'm looking at that table, based on your question, I'll be looking at the last two rows, the sundry payments and the non-surrendered payments. Madam Chair, what I'm requesting is that we provide details of those. I'm sure that will answer your question, because that is where you have the significant increase. We can bring that back to the committee as early as possible. I believe it will answer your question. But, Madam Chair, let me put it on record, we do not conceal anything, far from that.
From BOG, that if you look at the IMF's structural benchmarks or the performance criteria as set out into 5. And where do implementation risks remain? I mean, for us as a bank.
Well, as you know, the structural benchmarks, there are aspects that relate to Bank of Ghana, and then also there are other aspects that relate to GRA, and the other agencies. What that relate to us? At the end of the most recent review, there were no questions, there were no queries on that at all. So we are fine as far as the structural benchmarks are concerned, but the Ministry of Finance, GRA, Controller, they may be able to provide specific detail as to where they are. We are unable to do that for them.
Yes, for instance, there's a key concern, and that has to do with the heavy use of the gold-based instruments, the gold for oil, the gold for reserves, gold for foreign cash, which amounted to some 3.9 billion in 2024 alone. And this is captured in pages 16 and 17 of the report. These operations substitute for direct fiscal financing, and it blurs IMF ceilings in practice. Do you agree with me on this subject?
These are quasi-fiscal activities, certainly. And you need to look at when it started. It began from 2021. We have the data to provide to the committee if you want. So yes, it is a quasi-fiscal activity. At the end of the day, government has to make provision for that. But as I mentioned recently at the New Year School, this DGPP was introduced to address specific, issues. Since then, we have had to make some refinements. We have had to cancel certain aspects, and currently we are left with the G4R, which is serving its purpose. We are
into the whole of Ghana. Would want you to just not use the GM, just the gold
The
board,
acronyms,
so that the
okay.
acronym, so that people
down. An external audit is underway currently, and that entire program is being audited. When the audit is complete, we are happy to share audit findings with you. Then the G4 R as well. There's an there's an external audit that's been authorized by the Bank of Ghana board, both from when it started until the end of 2024, thereabout, and then also how it operated during 2025. So these audit reports, when ready, we are happy to discuss with your committee. But I must say that these are programs that have, or more or less, were introduced to address specific national challenges. And we believe that going forward, what we have to do is to reform them, to reduce the cost further, to treat them as quasi-fiscal interventions, and that should support our reserves build-up going forward. Thank you.
Governor, so based on this question, I just want to find out what is the BOG's reserve asset position now? As we speak, based on the various reports, it says the asset position was $8.6 billion US. So if you can share with us that.
Very well. Again, with your permission, I want to ask Na, who works on this directly, to provide the data.
Yes, so thank you very much again, Madam Chair. So with regards to the reserves, as at December 2025, end December 25, our reserves position stood at 13.8 $2.9 billion. Thank you very much.
Were some comments that were made with respect to the Gold for Oil program. Which indicated some losses, especially some loss making for the Gold for Oil program, in pages 16 to 17. Are you able to tell us how much of this relates to specifically to Gold for Oil, and which losses have been incurred based on your earlier session?
Madam Chair, I have some data here I can provide on the net losses for the Gold for Oil, and also net losses for the 0.44 million Ghana cedis. We did not have a net loss for the Gold for Reserves in 2022. Then in 2023, the net loss for the Gold for Oil was 317.69 million in 2023. On the other hand, the net loss for the Gold for Reserves, the losses in 2023, was 1,054.84 Ghana cedis. A little over 1 billion was the net loss for the Gold for Reserves in 2023. Then Ghana cedis in 2024. Was, and as we have indicated, these we will publish our financials by March this year. When we publish it, the data for 2025 will be provided in those financials. So as I've mentioned, it's not a question about losses then and now. It is that these schemes were introduced to address a specific national problem. What to do going forward is how to reform it, how to make it more efficient. A number of things have been done by us. If we have time, I could run you through them by way of reforming it. I have all the details here I can provide to your committee to read for yourself. We want everyone to get on board, to reform this better, and to sharpen its efficiency so that it supports, economic stabilization, it supports our reserves build-up going forward. At the Bank of Ghana, we have started. This week, our board is having a joint meeting with the board of the Gold Board for a start. Beyond that, we are going to be meeting with other stakeholders, and we'll be happy for experts in Parliament to join us. We believe that it can be made a win-win. A friend of mine made a comment that I want to share with the committee on this. He said, if this issue doesn't unite us as a country, then he doesn't know what other issue will unite us. The losses are not new. They were there before 2025. And so rather than apportion blame, let's get to the table. Let's see what to do further. We did a bit last year to reduce some of the charges. What more can we do and sustain it? Other than that, going back to leave the space for the smugglers, going back to leave the space for others. And if you look at how much we've lost as a country by way of leakages over all the years, it is mind-blowing. So our appeal is that we work together, Madam Chair, going forward to reform the space. It will help us as a country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor, for our space that you have used to tell of what you're doing in that with the Gold Board or the Gold for Reserve program. But Governor, I want to find out from you. You mentioned some losses that had been incurred for the Gold for Oil program and the Gold for Reserve program as well. And then in 2024, you mentioned that you had incurred a loss of 1.8 billion for the Gold for Oil program. So based on that, the board advised you to end the Gold for Oil program. In that same vein, you're telling us that there was a 3.8 billion Ghana cedis loss for the Gold for Reserve program. Why did the board not advise you to also bring to an end the Gold for Reserve program? Because when you compare the losses, this is 3.8 billion, and that is more, I can say, almost twice that of the Gold for Oil program. In that same vein, I'm just asking, why did the board not advise that you also cancel this?
So the first probably reference is to observe that since we canceled the Gold for Oil in May last year, we haven't seen a build-up of queues at the pumps. Because one of the objectives for the Gold for Oil was to support that. And so we believe that the cancellation was worth it. There were quite too many issues under the Gold for Oil that we needed to unearth. And therefore, the board authorized an external audit. We got PPA approval for the audit just about 2 months ago. And so that exercise is underway. In the case of the Gold for Reserves, as the name suggests, The objective was to help us build reserves. Now, based on the data that NA has provided so far, the evidence is clear that it is not a question of shutting it down, but it's the question of enhancing its efficiency, looking at inefficiencies that you have to take out. And that is why we went after Gold Board. I also have a table here I can give to you. You see the reductions that we have brought to bear. Madam Chair, it will interest you to know, for example, that until last year, especially the exports of the small-scale gold sector, we were just lucky nothing happened before 2025 because there was no insurance component after those consignments land at the destination country. And we had to insist that we needed to protect Ghana, even for that 5% that had to be paid. And so currently everything is paid before the consignment is lifted. Otherwise, there has to be an insurance guarantee. So going forward, let's look at these aspects that we can fix in the interest of the country. And it calls for a unified approach. The external auditors have already been authorized, as I will also be audited. When that exercise is over, we are happy to sit with you to look at where there were infractions or not and what to do with it. But the best thing now that will be in the national interest is to look again at the trading model and to, for example, decide, should the Ministry of Finance make a budgetary allocation to take care of the costs, given that this is supporting our reserves buildup? Those are the type of questions we need to agree on.
Governor, as for those questions, they've already been answered. Ministry of Finance allocated 217 million US dollars for Gold Board operations in the 2025 budget. So as for those questions, they've already been answered.
Sorry
it is
to
just
say,
that when you look in the budget from January to September 2025, nothing was given to them. So that allocation was already in the budget. But nothing was given to them. Then Ministry of Finance comes to tell us in the budget that for the end year projection, that's about 4.5 billion Ghana cedis, they are going to utilize it. So if you say that we should now go and find out whether Ministry of Finance should fund it or not, that was already made in the 2025 budget, which Ministry of Finance from January to September did not give a dime to Gold Board. So,
if I can explain,
yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Governor.
So you need to differentiate between two things.
Yeah.
There's the trading amounts, and then
Ministry of Finance gives you the allocation. It is within that framework. You will have to use it per the Public Financial Management Act and then reports. So it is up to you. But once that allocation has been made in the budget, whether it is for this or that, provided you are using it per the Public Financial Management Act, you don't have a problem. And so that was already in there. 217 million US dollars. Ministry of Finance from January to September did not pay a dime according to the budget that was submitted to us in November 2024. And the Ministry of Finance says, yes, the 270 has been translated into Ghana cedis, and you're going to utilize the 4.5 billion Ghana cedis. I cannot ask you whether it's been used or not because you don't run the Ministry of Finance budget. But maybe in the mid-year, we will know, or we will see, or we can come by way of questions to the Minister of Finance. So that conversation has already been had, and it was in the 2025 budget that Ministry of Finance has allocated 270 million US dollars, and it was up to them to utilize my money per the Public Financial Management Act, and they wouldn't have any problem at all.
Madam Chair, I'm trying to explain one thing. There are currently being borne by the Bank of Ghana not just in 20. '25, but since the program started. What I'm saying is that because of the cost involved, it's not enough to just allocate X amount for the gold trade. You have to allocate something to say if there are costs incurred, government will absorb it to this amount. And then that way, the Bank of Ghana, due to one of our own issues, we are actually operating at very, I want to use my word. Words carefully. So to see if they can reimburse us even forward. The key thing or the key question is who takes charge of the costs